Listen, one of the stories of this year, and really of the last 2 years, has been the extraordinary growth of faith schools in this country. And in the most recently published NCA results, which for 2024, one of the things you instantly notice at the top of those lists of faith of other faith schools in terms of excellence and outstanding results. And they are the faith schools like your classics like Christ College or Auckland Diocesan for Girls, St Margaret's, for example, in Christchurch, Columba College, the sort of more entrenched, if you like, but also the Catholic schools as well. Have just That used to be a byword in actual fact for dreadful teaching and, well, frankly, a little bit of shenanigans in the back room 30, 40 years ago. Nowadays, Catholic schools are rocketing up the league tables to an enormous degree, irrespective of their socio-economic status. But also Christian schools, schools that don't meet that sort of old, sort of denominational and established, if you like, definition, and certainly aren't Roman Catholic either. But their roles are increasing exponentially as well. And, well, no, they aren't increasing exponentially. They require, most of them, a cent to grow their role. So although they're integrated into the New Zealand education system and they might have a significant and huge number of people who want to join, they each must apply to the Ministry of Education to grow their role. And there is the issue. Because one would suspect that if you didn't need permission and the funding simply followed the kids in this country, the state education system in New Zealand would get winnowed out really, really quickly, particularly where any Christian or faith-based schools exist. All right, and one of those is in Rangiora, where the Ministry of Education has just recently granted permission to the Rangiora New Life School and also to the Catholic St Joseph Primary School there to increase their maximum roles. Rangiora New Life School will raise its roll from its current 470 to 570 students, which is a significant increase. And the two schools have growing waiting lists as families move into the area and seek a Christian education for their children. Joining us to talk about why this explosion, and I've lived in my lifetime through when single-sex schools were bad and co-ed schools were the only way to go. I've then lived through the next trench, which is single-sex schools are the way to go. And now I'm moving into an area where faith-based schools have become trendy and well supported by parents in particular. Why? We're joined by the principal of Rangiora New Life School, Stephen Walters. And welcome to the show, Stephen. Lovely to have you on.
Thank you, Michael. Lovely to be here.
You got my introduction. How long have you been teaching, first of all? How old are you?
37 years, 61, and
Okay, so
10
we're
years
roughly
in faith-based
contemporaries.
school.
Yep, so we're roughly
Yes,
contemporaries. So you did your training, what, in the old-fashioned teachers' college, did you?
absolutely, up at Auckland, and spent the first part of my career in state schools and just the last 10 years in faith-based schools.
Okay, so you would know, well, you would have seen massive educational change in that time, and one of them is the rise of faith-based schools. Can you explain to me why living as we do in a secular country, becoming, according to the census, more secular with every passing census,
Mhm.
um, that the rise of faith-based schools has become so prominent in the last 5, 10, 15 years?
I think because of the values that Christians hold, in particular, speaking from my own context, that is it's important for the families for their upbringing, and then consequently important for their education. So, I mean, I think this year is the 50th year of state integrated schools. I mean, they started in 1975, predominantly Catholic schools,
Yeah.
but now I think there's 84 non-Catholic Christian schools around New Zealand.
Okay. And obviously their roles are growing. You've just had yours increased by 100 students over the next 3 years. Um, but are they? I mean, sorry to ask this question because I send my child to a
Sure.
faith-based school, but I'm not Catholic, and neither's my son. But I send him there for a different reason. Are there plenty of people coming to the Rangiora New Life School who are the same?
Yes, yes. We most faith, state integrated schools, as part of their integration agreement with the Crown, have the ability to enrol 5, 10% non-preference, which is I think
Yeah.
what you're talking about, where you don't follow the preference of the belief system there. I think what we haven't really enrolled a non-preference enrolment for the last 3 or 4 years because the preference enrolments just subsume them, and by definition, preference means you go to them first.
Okay, so you're a New Life School. I don't know what denomination that is.
Sure.
What denomination do I have to be to go to your school?
Uh, the school itself was set up 40 years ago or 46 years ago by the New Life Church, but it is open to all Christian denominations, including Catholic, actually. And so if the family has a faith, regularly attends church, that makes them preference, they can send their children to our school. Um, we um, we do try to accommodate all applications, and to do that, we go one from year 1 to 13. So what we try to do is enrol kids at year 1, enrol kids at year 9. So anyone who wants a primary education, they go in at year 1, and year 9, obviously, the secondary. And we haven't really said no to any of those applications. We've managed to balance the numbers, even though there are waiting lists at other year levels. We sort of get them in at those 2 points. I think the ministry, I mean, I've been here 10 years, we've been asking for more space for that time. And we've had a little bit over the last few years, but nothing like the extraordinary situation that has occurred this last 12 months or so, where there seems to be an opening of the taps, you might say, for the ministry.
So you're saying that the ministry, which used to be extraordinarily restrictive in terms of numbers going into faith-based integrated schools, is becoming more liberal, is it, in terms of its applications?
Yeah, I think it's partly to the economy. I mean, it doesn't cost the ministry $1 for when we build a classroom because we levy our parents
Mm,
through attendance dues.
mm.
So there's definitely, so one way to, you could argue, cheaply build capacity in a state network, and we are part of the state network, is to allow us to have more enrolments. It costs exactly this, the ministry exactly the same for us to educate a child. The only difference is that our church or proprietor owns the building and owns the land, and so therefore the ministry don't have to stump up to those two very expensive, building and also buying land. It's just expensive.
You know, I hadn't looked at it that way before, but you're absolutely right. It is the cheapest option for the Ministry for Education of Education, isn't it? You're absolutely right because they would otherwise have to build classrooms. They would have to maintain them. They would have to put the insurance on them. They'd have to look after the property. There's a whole
Mm.
series of health and safety requirements that would fall upon them. They can now transfer all of that responsibility to you and your proprietor. I had never thought of it that way before. You must wonder why it didn't happen before then. Eh?
Oh, well, I think the heat, it certainly takes the heat out of a growing community. We are here in North Canterbury, like many other areas around New Zealand, growing, and I think that's one aspect to it. I mean, I do know that the Treasury says that state schools should pay for themselves when they're 93% at capacity. That's what their investment criteria. So when the ministry control the state network, they do really make sure that the schools are at 93% before they'll sort of even look at a school like ours, even if we've got hundreds of people waiting to come in. And we
You
happen to be convenient at the moment.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I also understand the sort of pragmatic imperative that the ministry might hold now. One of the reasons that they've also stopped previously, and it was explained quite adequately to me when I was a mayor, in actual fact, having a similar issue with the Ministry of Education, they said that their concern was, this is the ministry bureaucrats in Wellington, that if they were more liberal, and allowing folk to go into integrated schools and to have role growth in them, that it would lead to a mass exodus from the state education system. Um, that used to be an argument that was used particularly where there were falling roles in particular areas. Wanganui, Dunedin were two good examples. Um, do you find, I mean, is that still, do you think, a fear that exists within education bureaucrats?
I, potentially, I know that we work very hard to be on good terms with all of our state neighbours. I think because we are dependent on their approval for a role increase. I mean, the ministry will propose it, and then other schools sign off on it. So it is imperative that we are part of the network and the local community, and we're not seen as threats. I mean, in North Canterbury, for example, there's a large homeschool community, and we do enrol a lot of those families, particularly when they get to high school. And my colleagues in the state schools just say, we know that you're not a threat to us. We know that those kids will either be homeschooled and then they might come to you later, but they're not going to come to our school. So parents have made their mind up, particularly in the faith-based space.
Okay. When you talked about values that Christians hold, um, how does that manifest itself on a daily basis? So if I'm not, I mean, let's take me, I'm a sort of a nominal Anglican, which is sort of just another word for devil worship, really. But I'm a nominal Anglican, and my
Sure.
children, I'm baptized, I'm confirmed in the faith. I go to church on Easter at Christmas time. Um, my son's an Anglican, baptized Anglican as well. When you talk about Christian values, what
Mm.
makes your school different than the state school down the road?